What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Gaming News Podcast. Yeah, we still haven't found a name for this thing, but that's what it is for now. I'm not sure entirely what episode this is. It could be episode 10, it could be episode 11. It always seems to be way too long in between episodes, and I do apologize for that, but I mean, I've been busy and I've been sort of doing other content as well, so it's really hard to juggle all of those things, and it also depends on what sort of gaming news is out at the moment as well. I was going to do one when we went to Gamescom to talk all about that, so that time has passed, but we did have a blast going there. And it's always good to go over to Cologne, have a little nice holiday and see all this cool gaming stuff and all of the cosplays and just all the booths. I just love going there, so hopefully we can go again next year or the year after. So yeah, so I thought it was about time to do some news because there's been a lot of stuff that I've been interested in being spoken about in gaming news recently. If you know me, if you know what I'm into, you know it's probably some of the subjects that I'm going to be talking about. You're going to know what I'm going to be talking about already. So, Chris and Jill, John says. Yeah, Chris. That was Chris and Jill in the last Halloween outfit. So, like I said, it's been a long time. Before we get into some of the new topics for this week, we will talk about some of the things I've been doing in the last couple of months of games. I mean, I've played a lot of games, I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to speak about the ones I've played more recently or currently playing. So let's get into the backlog first and foremost, and let's talk about what I've been playing and my thoughts on it. So first up, I'm going to talk about something that I was playing literally about 10 minutes ago, actually, before I went on the stream, and it's probably the first time I've played it in a while, and that is Horizon Forbidden West. That is the PlayStation 5 exclusive game, sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. I had to think about it there. I really loved the first game. I think I did like 100% on the game. I got the platinum, and I loved the DLC as well. And this is one of the big sort of showcase games for the PlayStation when it was announced. We're going to be getting a next-gen Horizon, which that first game already looked awesome. And I was playing Elden Ring. So Elden Ring came out at the same time. I think this came out a little bit earlier, but I essentially played Elden Ring for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. So that thing was on the back burner. I owned it, I had it ready to play, but I never touched it until I was very much so finished with Elden Ring. And I must have started maybe a month or two ago now, possibly even longer ago. Whilst I'm really enjoying the game, I've been really struggling to get into the story of the game. That's mostly because when I do play it, it's usually when the dog is running around, and I have the volume quite low sometimes because there's always someone watching something on the other TV or playing something on the other TV. So it's always been, I always play it in moments where I've had the volume quite low and I've had a dog running around. So the story to me has been absolute sort of nonsense. I have no idea what's really going on in the story, which is a shame because I really did enjoy some of the plot twists at the end of the first game. So I know I'm not really that far into the story, so a lot of the things I may have missed out on have been just kind of your generic story building, world building things, but the graphics on this thing are incredible. I'm playing it on the balance mode, which is a 40 frames per second, but it keeps the high resolution, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. So it just looks awesome and it plays awesome. Very difficult, like the first game, until you've kind of got all of the upgrades and skill points. But that's another thing where I've kind of been out of my depths with this game because I haven't really looked into some of the skill trees very much. So I'm kind of playing it with the basics and just trying to struggle my way through a lot of fights without knowing what's even going on in a fight. So I've not really done it the best service, if I'm honest, about playing this game, but I am enjoying it. And it's something that I definitely need to get finished as well because it is big time game season. There's there's so many games coming out. We've got God of War Ragnarok coming out soon. So I should probably try and play that at some point, but I mean, I'm not in a massive rush. I will get to that when I get to it, but I do need to finish Horizon at some point because I have been playing for quite a long time now. Okay, so moving on is a game that I've had in my Steam library for at least a year, maybe 2 years, maybe more. And this is one of those games where I've always wanted to try it, I've always wanted to start it, but I've always been put off by the fact that I won't be able to run it in its most high fidelity, and it's one of those games which is kind of like a visual showpiece. So that game is Control. What's up, Kaza? Thanks for joining in the podcast and the stream. So if you do have any questions about anything in the world of gaming or about my channel right now, then do drop it below and I will get to it. So Control, yeah. So this game has been in my library for ages. I'm a huge fan of Remedy games. Alan Wake, Max Payne, all of those kind of things. Quantum Break was it called? Yeah, I loved their sort of level of detail in their games and the soundtracks and just the gameplay and story in general. So I've not played this game because I've been wanting to play it at its sort of max potential. I recently upgraded my PC. I got a new graphics card, and I'm finally ready to play this thing totally maxed out and get the full experience. So and I've been absolutely loving it. I love the atmosphere of this game. If you don't know what Control is about, it's you playing as the girl there. I think her name's. Do you know what? I'm kind of forgetting what her name was. It might be like Helena or Eleanor or something like that. But you are essentially the new director of this company, this building, and it's the oldest house. It's this really weird multi-level facility essentially, and you go there and everything is messed up and you have to kind of figure out what's going on. There's lots of sci-fi, there's lots of paranormal dimension sort of things, and there's creatures and monsters, and you have powers of telekinesis and you can just control things. It's called Control. Um, it's just the atmosphere of this game, just going level by level through this facility and finding out all the different things they've been doing over the years, all the experiments and just the different layers, how things look so different. It's got like a bit of a David Lynch feel to it with the way the characters are and just some of the locations and some of the conversations. And I'm really enjoying it. And I mean, it's not exactly a spoiler right now, but this game has an expansion which has Alan Wake in it. So I'm really intrigued to finally play the game through and see what the connection is there and see how it may lead into Alan Wake 2. But absolutely stunning game, and it runs like a dream on the PC now. So I'm just having a blast playing it. And I've not used photo modes in a game for such a long time just because I haven't felt the urge to do it. But I've been doing it in this game. I've been stopping and taking pictures of like cool lighting and corridors, and the ray tracing in this game is awesome as well. Jesse Faden, John, in the chat, just let me know. Jesse Faden, have you played Control, John? It is an awesome game. But yeah, I'm loving this game, and it's probably the one I'm most focused on at the moment in the story. I'm spending time picking up all the notes and reading them and just figuring out what the hell is going on in the story. Thoughts on Signalis? I don't really know much about Signalis. I think someone in Discord has mentioned it and dropped a link to it, but I haven't actually checked it out, so I really don't know what it's about. But I have heard a bit of a buzz about it. So give me the briefest sort of description of what Signalis is, and I will let you know what my thoughts are from a first thought basis, I guess. And hello to you. Thanks for stopping by. Not yet played. So after Control, this is one I've been doing on the channel. I've been streaming this and recording it, and this is the new sort of exclusive to Game Pass and Game Pass PC, which is Scorn. This is a game that has been announced for a very long time. It only released a couple of weeks back, I think, and it is essentially a game about being trapped or stuck on a planet or a complex. I'm not far enough in to know exactly what's happening, but the visuals of this game are very H.R. Geiger. I love Alien. There is another artist, I think it's a Polish artist, which the visuals are based on as well, which I've seen, which the blend of those two is just like, it's grotesque and awesome, and I love it. I'm just there for like the visuals of this game purely. It's very biomechanical, so you have a lot of organic type of weapons, which you kind of like inject into yourself, and they use your bloodstream to kind of run the guns. It's really weird. It's not for everyone, I will say that. I know a lot of people will be turned off by this game. I know a lot of people will probably go in expecting it to be a survival horror or a jump scare game, and it's really not. It's more of a puzzle based game where you just feel the ambience and the atmosphere, and you just move through these areas and just like bask at the horrible things that are going on. There's like people in shells being carried around in like a weird alien pram while a buzzsaw like chops them in half. It's so weird. I am enjoying it. I will say the learning curve of some of the puzzles is a bit tricky as well. And I honestly was stuck for ages in my last stream because I didn't know how to heal. I'm not sure if I missed the tutorial or I just didn't get one, but you have to kind of look down at your belt and use this weird spider thing to heal yourself. So I was constantly on like 1 HP and I kept getting killed, and I was getting really frustrated with it. So now I figured that out, I think I should be able to make a lot of progress on the game. And I've heard it's relatively short as well. So I think I will probably be getting back to streaming and recording that soon. One unfortunate thing that did happen to me was the first time I streamed the game. Like I said, I just got a new graphics card and it reset my Streamlabs settings, and it stopped my VOD on Twitch from having any audio track. So when I went to export it to YouTube, there was just no audio. So I had to basically re-record it again. Joystick Steve, the egg puzzle is now legendary. Oh my god, yes. And when I re-recorded that, Steve, I thought I'd be able to get through it a lot quicker. I mean, I did get through it quicker, but it still took me a good 20 minutes to work that puzzle out. But with the beauty of not being live, I could edit that out of the video. But yeah, the puzzles are quite tough. The puzzles are more like ones you have to think two steps ahead all the time instead of it just being something you can just put together by ease or moving things. It's more like a game of chess, some of these puzzles, but I am having fun with the game besides when I'm not getting killed in one hit. So I think next time when I do go back to it, I'm going to start enjoying it a lot more. Okay. Next up is a game that I've also had in my Steam library for a long time, and I'm not actually playing it on Steam. I'm playing it on my Xbox through Xbox Game Pass because it only recently just came on there, and that is the JRPG Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, I think that's called. It's a PS3 game which has now been remastered, and it's just like your classic turn-based game, and it came out around 2009, I think, and I don't think I had a PS3 at the time, and I think the art and the story and the cutscenes are done by Studio Ghibli, the people who made like Howl's Moving Castle and Totoro and Spirited Away. So they have the very unique visual style. And I think that is the main selling point of this game. It's just like the style of it and the way everything looks and the characters, because the cutscenes are awesome. It's got a very cel shaded graphic style as well. So it's really held up now that it's remastered in like 4K on the Series X. It looks like it could have came out yesterday, and it's brilliant as well. So I'm having a lot of fun with that one. I'm pretty engaged in it at the moment. At first I was kind of getting used to the combat system, but now I've sort of figured it out and how to fight, and I'm not dying all the time. I'm starting to really enjoy it and get into the story of the game. And eventually I think I'll be playing the second one as well, because that is due to be heading to Game Pass at some point soon as well. But if you're into like your turn-based games or your JRPGs and you've not played one in a while, and if you have an Xbox, I guess, jump onto Game Pass and check it out, because it's a really fun game. It's a really cool art style, and yeah, if you like Ghibli, you might as well give it a shot. Ni no Kuni is an outstanding game and super tough. One of my favorites. Yeah, it really is. I'm having a blast with it. Some of the boss fights have been quite tricky. I've just found I've had to go back and do a lot of grinding. It just sucks when you're in an area where you die and lose like all of your gold because you're nowhere near a save point. But yeah, it's a really good game. Honestly, I'm really enjoying it, and it doesn't really feel like it's dated like a PS3 game. It still feels like pretty fresh in today's sort of generation of consoles and stuff. So, Not Yet has said, Signalis is a dystopian future classic survival horror game. Reminds me of older Resident Evil, but in a really cool style, semi-pixelated style, puzzle action, third-person shooter, free on Xbox Game Pass, came out yesterday. Well, you might have just sold me there. It sounds like my jam. I do love survival horror. Dystopian futures, I'm getting Dead Space sort of images from that, some Blade Runner. So, while I don't know much about the game, I'm very intrigued. So, I've just been sold, and hopefully if you guys are listening to this and you don't know what it is, you can check it out. Yo, what's up, Miso? The only gaming news we care about is the next Final Fantasy playthrough. Yeah, you'll get that one day. So next up then is a game we've also been streaming very recently. We've done a lot of these similar type of games in the past, and I spoke about them on the podcast as well, but we are finally playing The Quarry, which is your sort of choose your own adventure survival slasher interactive movie game. And yeah, we're having a blast with this one. The other games that we've played in the Dark Pictures anthology, like Man of Medan, Little Hope, and House of Ashes, I've always been quite sure, and I think they only really found their stride in House of Ashes. And that's the one I think we enjoyed the most so far. And this one is taking it back to more the roots of Until Dawn. It's much lengthier. I think it's about 8 to 10 hours, someone said in the chat yesterday. And this one is like, it's more of a slow burn. Like, we're only in 3 parts of the game, so we're not even halfway through, but it's paced like you would expect a movie to be paced. Obviously, if it's 10 hours, it's a very long paced movie, but the first 2 or 3 hours you're expecting to get to know the characters and the location and situation and see what's happening with it. So I mean, we're only just getting into the sort of the horror part of it. It's nightfall and things are going crazy. So we're getting into it, so there's a lot to talk about. So I think next time, if we do a podcast in the near future, hopefully in the near future, we can talk about some of the things that happen and my thoughts on the game overall. But as for now, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying like the humor in the game as well. Throughout the three parts, we've been sort of cracking up at some of the lines and some of the things they do in that game. I'm just having a good time with it. It feels like 80s Friday the 13th 80s slasher. So you don't know whether to hope for these guys to survive or just to let them be chopped up to bits by whatever's happening out there in the woods, in the forest. But really enjoying the quarry. If you haven't seen any of the playthrough, it is up on the YouTube channel, and I do stream it here on Twitch as well. So stay tuned for that if you do want to see more, because no one's died as of yet. So things could go sour in the next episode or not, but we will soon find out. I've enjoyed the interactive movie games you've played. Yeah, they're a blast. It's good playing it with you guys as well. It's kind of like our Fabled Lands and Fighting Fantasy in a way, because you guys can help us make a decision. And I mean, you don't really have much time to make a decision, but it's always good to get players, the chat's feedback to see what they would have done or how they look at things. So it's always good. Hey, Dewdrops, how you doing? Good to see you. So that is basically all the games I've been playing in the last, I'd say, month or so. There have been more, but I've kind of forgot what I've played at this point. There's been that many. So we're going to get onto more of the news now. Some of the news that's captivated me, that's got me interested in wanting to do a podcast. Usually I just need a good chunk of news in a very short time period for me to kind of want to make a podcast or have a time to be motivated to get the podcast out. So the first one is probably the least interesting or exciting bit of news from it in the last week or so, and that is the Fallout 25th anniversary. We got news that they are finally giving a next-gen patch to Fallout 4. This has been basically stuck at 1080p, 30 frames a second, if that even runs at 30 frames a second on the old consoles. And I mean, I played on the PC anyway, but Skyrim got its anniversary edition. It looked really awesome. So I think it's time for me to have another playthrough of Fallout 4, because I never played the DLC, and I felt like I kind of rushed my way through it towards the end because I was waiting for something else to come out and I wanted to finish it before then, so I went back and played it. But yeah, Fallout 4, hoping it gets some decent upgrades to it. I know it's supposed to be getting like performance modes and higher resolutions, but I'm kind of hoping they go in there and do a bit more with like the texture work, and if they could add stuff like ray tracing, it would be an extra cool thing just to see like all those dope ass reflections from your Pip-Boy and stuff. I doubt they're going to go that far, but this also opens up for more opportunities for some of the older Fallout games to get an upgrade. So I know a lot of them on the Xbox are like upgraded for the Xbox Series X and stuff like that, but if we can get new versions of Fallout 3 and New Vegas, that would be awesome, especially if we can get a Switch version. I mean, a Switch is definitely not my console of choice. I have one and I do play games on it, but if it's coming out on the Switch and it's coming out on PC or PS5 or Xbox, I'm not going to get it on the Switch purely because it's probably going to run way worse and look way worse. So if they can get them on there and looking semi-decent, I'd be considering playing Fallout 3 just like in bed at night. It'd be really cool. I mean, should probably get a Steam Deck, but if we get Switch versions, that's always a good thing. So that's the first bit of news out of the way. The second bit of news is that we had a Resident Evil showcase. Now, I'm mad about Resident Evil. I love Resident Evil. And we were expecting certain things in this showcase. There wasn't exactly anything surprising, because obviously they've got a few games that are in the works to be released. So they can't really promote anything too far down the line when they got these to already get out the door. So they need to market these things. Fallout would be a great Switch airplane game, Beyond says. Absolutely, yeah, that's the kind of game I would love to play, yeah, like on the Switch, or if I was commuting to work or just on a long train journey. It'd be fun to just jump on and just explore the wastelands. But in this Resident Evil showcase, we got news on the Winter's expansion, which is out today, actually, and RE-Verse, the multiplayer game, finally came out, and I played one game of it, and although I had a fair bit of fun with it, I did not get the urge to ever go back and play it again. Maybe I will, but I'm not sold on playing it again. There's that many games out there, I can't invest time into something like that. But the Winter's expansion is out, and I could be potentially playing some of that after this podcast is done. So We will see. But the main draw of this showcase was a further look at Resident Evil 4 Remake coming out in March. And when they first revealed this game, I was very excited for it because it seemed like they were going down more of a horror path. It seemed like it was more of a survival horror. The atmosphere was all creepy rather than it being more action based. And after that first trailer, I was already sold, and I thought I don't need to see any more trailers because I've played the game and I know it looks good. But obviously, I'm having to watch the showcase, and I want to see everything that they show, even if I don't want to see too much. It doesn't really matter too much because I've played the game. So what we got to see was a trailer and a little bit more of gameplay, and I'm really, really sold on this now. I think this has potential to be even the best remake out of the ones they've already done, just because the game originally is already quite different from the series. So it's going to be good for them to kind of make it better. They can make the story better. They can make the atmosphere better. They can make it like more like a Resident Evil game. Not like the original is bad in any way, but what we've seen, like the way they've expanded it, like in the original game, when you go into the house with the first Ganado, you kind of just walk in there. You kind of just walk in there, and he's just standing there by the fire, and he turns around and leaps at you. And yeah, it's a shocking opener. But from this trailer, we saw Leon sneaking around in what seems to be like the basement of the house, and there's all this tribal stuff. He's pulling back curtains, and he finds like a body of a cop and stuff, and it's just a big lead up. So the atmosphere just is way more of a horror vibe. It feels like something from The Evil Dead or something like that. It just adds so much extra attention to the scene, and if they can follow that throughout the entire story, then yeah, I'm absolutely down for it. We saw a bit of the castle. We saw what's he called? Salazar, was it? And we saw Lewis as well, and they all look badass as well. A lot of people were expecting to be a big change with Salazar, just because of like the way he looked and stuff. But they've seemed to have just brought him back, but even creepier. A lot of people have been comparing and saying he looks like the Queen of England. But I mean, I do see it, but seeing all the castle had got me excited. We didn't see anything from the island, I don't think. Really, that's the one thing about this game that I'm curiously optimistic that they're going to turn the island into something better than it was in the original game, something more spooky, something more in line with the first two sections of the game. But that's the one thing that could pull this remake down if they just make it as it was, and it's just like dudes in military outfits throwing dynamite at you. It just kind of takes you out of the story. But we will soon see. Comes out in March, which is very close, and I cannot wait to play it. So yeah. You have any plans on doing Resident Evil Remake and Zero, as in a playthrough? I mean, I could potentially do a stream at some point, but I have streamed them multiple times, and I do have playthroughs up on the channel already. So if you're already subscribed to the channel, there are playthroughs in there. You just have to look through the playlists. Salazar Honorai shrunk the boss. Yeah, well, he's not quite small when he transforms, though, is he? That's going to be a very gooey, creepy boss. That's one of the things I'm really interested in as well, is the boss fights. If they've got them all in there, I can't wait to see how they've changed them and made them different. So the one with Mendez in the barn is going to be really badass. I know you played it for about 11 hours the other day, did you not, Steve? I still think up to now I really enjoy playing the VR version of Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite ways to play the game. I am losing my voice. Okay, the next one is something that came out of the blue, really. It's been rumored for a very long time. I've been excited for it for a very long time. I've been disappointed for a very long time because the announcements keep coming, the rumors keep coming, and they never come to fruition. And my only last hope for this year, I seen anything Silent Hill, was at the Game Awards. I thought Jeff Keighley might get it because he got Elden Ring. So let's just hold on till December. And if we don't get anything then I'm just going to give up all hope on Silent Hill. Until there was a tweet about a Silent Hill transmission that was going to be going live on Twitch and YouTube and all of those places, talking about the future of the Silent Hill series. And I mean, obviously I was excited for this. it was a confirmation we're getting some more Silent Hill, and I was very excited to watch this. It was on very late at night, not too late, but late when you've got to be up really early. And we've heard the rumors about Silent Hill 2 being remade, and the rest of it was all mostly speculation. We saw some leaks from Silent Hill Sakura, and it seemed to be coming to fruition. So, sat in bed at 10 at night, just sitting there, like, waiting for this to happen. And they started the showcase with Silent Hill 2, a timeless classic game. I mean, it's aged in a way that it's a PS2 game, but it still looks really good. And it's just still a classic. The themes in that game, the soundtrack, the atmosphere, just the story in general. It's something that I think for back in its time was very deep. A lot of games were not going into the depth and levels of the human psyche that this game did, and it's a classic game. I mean, I would really like for them to remake the first game, but if, like with Resident Evil, I know they did the Resident Evil 1 GameCube remake, but it wasn't until years after when they did 2. So with with the Resident Evil 2 remake, they went straight to 2 because that is one of the most popular ones. So and why they're probably skipping Code Veronica for now is because 4 is more popular. So if they bring out the more popular ones and it helps to get the other ones made, then I'm all there for it. So if they bring out Silent Hill 2 remake and it is successful and they make a lot of money and we get a Silent Hill 1 remake, a Silent Hill 3 remake, then all powers to them. Silent Hill 2 is probably one of my favorites, to be fair, out of the Silent Hill series. So I'm very excited for it. It's in Unreal Engine 5, and if you're watching the visual version, you'll see them that picture there, which I think that's in engine. It's supposed to be like sort of, I'm not sure if it's exactly in game, but it's in the in-game engine, and that thing looks incredible. So a lot of people have been a bit weird about how James looks, but you can't make someone look like that PS2 model anyway. I mean, you can, but if you're using motion capture, you just want a good actor who's going to do a good performance. And from what I've seen in the trailer, he seems to be like giving his all at like an emotional sort of performance. And we know that there's some emotion in this game. And one thing that I think is really, really tough to nail in this game is the ending, or at least one of the endings I normally get. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but every now and again, I'll go on YouTube and watch like I think it's the water ending I usually get, and I watch that back and like I'm choking up watching it every time just because of the line delivery. It's very stoic, and that's one of the things that makes the original game so creepy is the way the lines are delivered and the voice acting. So I think better performances always good, but I don't know if they're going to be able to nail that ending, even if they change it. But yeah, that ending still it still gets me all choked up. But Silent Hill 2 looks amazing, and apparently it's quite far into production, so we might not have to wait too long. I mean, the line of horror games in the next 6 months is already amazing. So if this comes out like April, May, just after Resident Evil 4, we are literally living the dream, horror fans. Scariest boss fight. Playing it now, approaching Salazar boss fight. Awesome, Steve. Hope you smash him. Hope you got some magnum ammo and some flash grenades. The scariest boss fight, in my opinion, will probably be the cabin fight with the big cheese. The cabin fight with the big cheese. Like the one where you're holding out in the night. That is a very cool scene. And I think they tried to copy that in pretty much every Resident Evil after that. But yeah, I do love that scene. Using your Red 9, popping those Ganados out the window. Still holds up super well, the PS4 remaster. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think I've got it on PS4. I'm always tempted to buy it on Xbox as well, so I can play it upstairs. But and Switch. I mean, it's one of those games I'll probably play everywhere, and it's not exactly hard to access either. It's everywhere. But yeah, I need to play it. But PSVR, not the PSVR, the Quest 2 version of Resident Evil 4 is awesome. Okay, back on to Silent Hill. There were multiple announcements. We got announcement that Christopher Gans is coming back to make a new Silent Hill movie. We're currently watching the first one again for the first time in years now, and I think it's a really good adaptation. Honestly, it is different. The story is different, but the visuals and just the way they capture like the puzzles and collecting maps and pieces, it feels like a game. So I love that movie, even though it can be a bit slow and it just has the woman running around saying Sharon 6,000 times, but yeah, I'm enjoying that, and I can't wait to see how they bring it back. Apparently, it is more of a focus on the story of Silent Hill 2. So if they can make a really good Silent Hill 2 movie, then I am down for it. They just need a budget. If this thing doesn't have a budget at least the same as the original Silent Hill film, it's probably going to fail because CGI monsters just do not hold up compared to practical effects. There were another couple of Silent Hill projects. One of them, I'm not entirely sure what it was. It seemed more of a live service, live streaming TV series, a web series or something. So I'm not really going to that one. There's one called Silent Hill Townfall, which is made by, I cannot remember the name of them, but they're under the publisher of Annapurna Games. And this one seems like it's more of a, I don't know, like an observation game. It seems like you're kind of in a building watching videotapes and listening to radio transmissions and figuring out a mystery. So that game, there is a lot to be discovered with it, and I'm interested. And I kind of hope that game just drops out of nowhere and I can just jump into it blind and just get into it. I'd say Silent Hill 2 is probably the biggest one, but we're actually getting a new Silent Hill game, which is always exciting. Long live Silent Hills or PT. I don't think we're ever going to get the game, unfortunately, but this seems to be the one that is somewhat going to be in the same vein as that, because if the leaks were to be believed in some of the screenshots that were leaked a couple of months ago, it is like a first person game. What's interesting about this one, let me get the picture up for you guys, is that this is not set in America. It's not set in Silent Hill. The game's called Silent Hill F as well, which has a lot of people theorizing the meaning of it, but it's set in 1960s Japan. So it's more of a reimagining, if anything, but if they can capture the feel and the themes and the story of like the original Silent Hill games and do it in 1960s Japan and make it creepy, then why the hell not? I am there to play it. So no idea when this one's coming out. The only thing that has me a little bit worried about this is that the people who are making it are some of the people who are involved in the making of Resident Evil or RE-verse. So it doesn't exactly speak to me as a mind-blowing, atmospheric, story-based game. So who knows? They could have just been working on that as a side project. This could be their main sort of passion project. But the writer is apparently a very good Japanese horror writer as well. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, I'm hoping it's good, and I'm hoping it doesn't take 5 years to come out. Okay, what have we got next? Okay, last but not least, this is news that The Witcher, the original Witcher game, which came out years and years ago, is getting a Unreal Engine 5 remake. So I played this not when it came out. I played it years after. I think it was probably about a year before The Witcher 3 came out, and I played it on. Well, yeah, I think you can only play it on the PC. It was quite aged, and the gameplay is very different. You have to use like a mouse to use your attacks. You have to hold the button down and let go of the mouse button when you need to attack or to parry and stuff like that. So it's a very weird style compared to the newer Witcher games, but I still haven't played The Witcher 3, bizarrely. I'm still waiting for the next gen patch for that. But I think the story in this was actually really good. So if they're getting the chance to let players play this original game who maybe only had a console, or they just thought this is nothing like The Witcher 3, I'm not going to bother with this one, they get a chance to play this in, if it's Unreal Engine 5, it's going to look absolutely stunning. So this is probably going to be some of the groundwork that they use going forward in The Witcher 4 or one of the other 12 projects they announced. But yeah, I am actually excited to play through that story again, but in a much more modern game. So The Witcher, it's probably years off. And I mean, I've got Witcher 3 remastered whenever that comes out to tide me over. So I can't wait for that. So it's just, I'm just glad to see it. And I'm glad that a lot of people are going to get their hands on it, because I think a lot of people will be surprised by how cool the story is. There are a lot of elements from the first series on Netflix, which is from the book adaptation, that were main story points in the Witcher 1 game, especially to do with the big weird werewolf monster that is in the castle, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially in the castle and it can only go out at night and feed on people. That is like a big sort of plot throughout the first Witcher game. To see that again would be really, really cool. So that is going to be it for the news and my backlog. It's been longer than usual, but I mean, that happens when you don't do a podcast for a very long time. I mean, I hopefully got enough interesting news for you to be interested in, or if it's your first time hearing this news, hopefully it's got you excited for some of the projects that are coming in the future. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in either the chat or in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. And hopefully we'll have some exciting news to make another podcast very soon. And hopefully I can get through a lot more of these games in my backlog and we can talk about some new ones, because there's a lot coming out. And I'm quite tempted actually to do a video just talking about the state of horror games at the moment and what's coming out and everything I'm excited for, because it does get me excited to talk about it, whether that be a podcast or whether it be just a video. I'm not entirely sure yet. There's a lot of things I do want to do on the channel. It's just finding the time to do it. But this is going to be it for my latest episode in the podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, if you're not following us, the YouTube channel or the podcast on multiple platforms such as Spotify or Apple Music, then go ahead and sub to those as well. And I will see you again with the next podcast.